Before diving into this story, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. It helps me connect with each of you. He thought he owned the school. Brad, the golden boy, wealthy, popular, and untouchable. To him, humiliating others wasn't just routine, it was entertainment. And his favorite target? A quiet black girl whose mother worked as a maid. He mocked her clothes, her skin, her very existence, not knowing that her story wasn't ordinary at all. Because Amara was hiding a truth that could shatter his arrogance in seconds. What happens when a school bully pushes too far and discovers his victim is no ordinary girl? The day began like any other in the quiet suburban town, where reputations mattered more than truth, and appearances decided social worth. At the center of it all was Amara, a young black girl whose mother worked as a maid for one of the wealthiest families in the city. To classmates, she was invisible, except when she wasn't. Her secondhand clothes, her quiet nature, her darker skin, all made her an easy target. Every morning, Amara walked the polished hallways of her prestigious private school with her head lowered, carrying both her books and the weight of unspoken judgment. Teachers praised her intelligence, but praise was never loud enough to silence the sneers of privilege. The school wasn't designed for girls. Like her, it was built to remind them of their place. And then there was Brad, the boy who ruled the hallways with cruel confidence. Blonde, athletic, and arrogant. He was the kind of student others followed, not out of respect but out of fear. To Brad, Amara wasn't a person but a punching bag for his fragile ego. His taunts were sharp, his laughter louder than her silence, and his presence carried the kind of dominance that suffocated. But what Brad and the entire school failed to see was that Amara's life was not what they assumed. She wasn't just a maid's daughter. Her existence carried a secret so explosive that, once revealed, it would flip their world upside down. That truth wasn't just about money or family, it was about power, identity, and the painful reality of racism hiding behind polished doors. The stage was set. The bully was ready. But so was the storm that no one saw coming. Brad's cruelty didn't stop in the hallways. Every day, he found new ways to remind Amara she didn't belong. He'd knock her books out of her hands in front of a crowd, smirk as laughter echoed around her, and whisper insults so sharp they cut deeper than fists ever could. "Maid's daughter," he sneered once, loud enough for everyone to hear, and the sting of those words burned into her chest. Amara tried to keep her head down. She told herself to endure, to survive, but the walls of the school seemed to close in tighter each time. Brad's voice echoed in her ears. The other students watched, some laughing nervously, others silently turning away. Their silence became its own form of cruelty, making her feel invisible, unworthy, forgotten. Lunchtime was the worst. Brad's friends circled her like predators, tossing cruel jokes, daring her to fight back. She never did. Not because she was weak, but because she understood something Brad never would, that her silence was a shield, not a surrender. But even shields can crack. One rainy afternoon, Brad spotted Amara sitting alone near the back of the cafeteria. He strutted over, a cruel grin stretching across his face. With one swift motion, he grabbed her tray and dumped it onto the floor. Gasps filled the room as food splattered across her shoes. The cafeteria erupted in laughter, and Brad basked in it like a king on his throne. Amara's hands trembled, not from fear, but from the effort it took to hold herself together. Her eyes burned, but she refused to give Brad the satisfaction of tears. She gathered her things silently, but inside a storm was rising. She thought of her mother working tirelessly as a maid, facing her own humiliations with unshakable dignity. She thought of the nights she cried herself to sleep, wishing someone would just see her, stand for her, believe in her worth. Brad didn't know, he couldn't know, that Amara's silence wasn't weakness. It was power, and soon that power would break free in ways he never imagined. The whispers spread through the school faster than wildfire. Rumors that Amara wasn't just any girl, that her life carried a secret even Brad, the self-proclaimed ruler of the school, had no idea about. And as Brad's cruelty escalated, so too did the sense that something was about to erupt. Something bigger than just one bully and one girl. The stage was set. The storm was coming, and Brad was about to learn the cost of his arrogance. The day everything changed began like any other. Brad swaggering through the halls, searching for his next victim, his friends trailing behind him like shadows. When he saw Amara at her locker, the target was too easy to resist. He strutted up, slammed the locker door shut, and sneered. "What's the matter? Maid's daughter? Gonna cry for mommy again?" The laughter from his crew echoed down the corridor. Amara's chest tightened. Her silence had been her armor for so long, but today something felt different. Because standing at the far end of the hallway was a figure no one expected. A tall man, broad shoulders filling the space, his presence impossible to ignore. Students whispered, eyes widening as realization spread. It was Vin Diesel. The Vin Diesel! He didn't rush. He didn't shout. He just walked forward with a calm, unshakable force, each step silencing the laughter around Brad. By the time he stopped beside Amara, the hallway had fallen into an eerie stillness. Brad's smirk faltered. He glanced between Amara and Vin Diesel, confusion flickering across his face. Is this your dad or something?" He scoffed, trying to salvage his arrogance. Vin Diesel's eyes narrowed, his voice steady but heavy with power. "She's my daughter." The words dropped like thunder. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Amara lifted her chin for the first time in weeks. Her silence no longer a shield, but a crown. Brad's face drained of color. The boy who had strutted through the halls like a king now looked like a child caught in his own cruelty. Vin didn't need to raise his voice. His presence alone crushed the weight of Brad's mockery. "You see, Brad," he said slowly, "strength isn't in tearing others down. It's in lifting them up. Something you've never learned." Brad stood frozen, the laughter of his friends gone, replaced by the burning shame of hundreds of eyes watching him crumble. And in that moment, Amara wasn't the maid's daughter anymore. She was the girl who had survived the storm, and whose truth had shattered her bully's throne. The hallway was silent, every eye fixed on Brad as his arrogance dissolved into nothing. For the first time, he felt the weight of his cruelty, not as a joke, not as power, but as weakness laid bare. Amara stood taller beside Vin Diesel, her heartbeat steady. She wasn't just the maid's daughter anymore. She was a young black girl who had endured, who had survived, and who was now seen for who she truly was. Vin didn't gloat, didn't threaten. Instead, he placed a hand on Amara's shoulder and looked around at the watching students. "You all saw it," he said firmly. "What happens when someone is judged not by who they are, but by what others think they should be? That stops here." No one laughed. No one cheered. Instead, an uncomfortable silence spread, the kind that forces people to reflect. Brad lowered his gaze, unable to face the girl he had mocked for so long. His friends stepped back, distancing themselves from the boy who had once been their leader. For Amara, it wasn't revenge, it was justice. As the crowd dispersed, whispers followed her, but they were different now. Words of respect, curiosity, even admiration. For the first time, she walked through those halls not in shame, but in quiet strength. At home, her mother embraced her, tears in her eyes. "You were always enough, Amara. Now the world sees it too." The story didn't end there, because what happened in that school wasn't just about one girl or one bully. It was about a truth that echoes far beyond those walls. Racism thrives on silence, but it crumbles when the truth is revealed. And the question that lingers for all of us is simple. How many more Amaras must endure before we learn that every person, no matter their color, their background or their story, deserves dignity,